how do you find liberation? I mean, it's a question people have been asking for, well, forever. But what if I told you there's a 200-year-old text that gives a surprisingly simple, a really straightforward answer? Today, we're diving into a spiritual text called the Vachanamrut. It gives us this incredible framework for understanding this huge question. So let's get right into it. So everything kicks off with this one question. It's so simple, but so deep. A devotee asks his guru, how can the soul, that's the jiva, attain liberation? This single question is the spark for everything we're about to unpack. And trust me, the answer is probably not what you're expecting. And this wasn't some abstract thought experiment happening in a vacuum. Nope. This happened on a specific day, in a real place, under a neem tree in Vartal, India, all the way back in 1826. And that's so important because it just reminds us that this timeless wisdom came out of a real conversation, a real moment in time. So how does the guru answer this massive, life-defining question about liberation? He starts with just a single number, 2. That's it. Just 2. And this simple number, it's the key that unlocks this entire philosophy we're about to get into. Okay, so what in the world does 2 mean? Well, according to this text, the divine shows up on earth in one of 2 very distinct forms. It's either as a powerful, worldly king or as a humble ascetic sadhu, a holy person. These 2 forms, these total opposites, are the foundation for everything else. And just look at the contrast here. On one hand, you've got the king, powerful, worldly, a ruler of society, and on the other, the sadhu, ascetic, humble, a guide for souls. I mean, they couldn't seem more different, right? The text even gets super specific, saying the king has 39 distinct virtues, while the sadhu has 30. So let's dig into what that actually looks like. All right, so first up, let's talk about the path of the king. This is God manifesting right here in the world, wielding power, getting involved, really engaging with society. You can think of a figure like Sri Krishna from the scriptures. This is divinity in full-on action mode. So what does this divine king look like? The text lists out 39 characteristics, and they're just fascinating. We're talking about incredible valor, total boldness in battle, expertise in 64 different arts and skills. I mean, everything from science to music. Just immense power. And this profundity, where their motives are just beyond our easy understanding. This is a divinity that is deeply and expertly involved in the world. And this is where it gets really, really, really interesting, because the text does not shy away from how worldly this form can be. The king might go hunting to survive, they might keep a large household with many women. These are actions that, let's be honest, might not fit our typical religious checklist. But that's the point. It shows that divinity in this form is operating by a completely different set of rules. Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and look at the polar opposite, the path of the sadhu. If the king is all about divine power in action, the sadhu is all about divine compassion embodied. This is God appearing not as a ruler, but as a humble ascetic, like the ancient sages Dattatreya or Kapil. And the sadhu's 30 virtues? They paint a totally different picture. The focus here isn't power. It's selfless compassion. It's absolute nonviolence. It's purity inside and out. It's a total lack of ego or jealousy. This form guides souls not through might, but through quiet example and grace. And the contrast is just, wow, it's so stark. While the king might hunt, the sadhu wouldn't even harm a single blade of grass. While the king might have a large household, the sadhu maintains a level of purity so strict they wouldn't even touch a wooden statue of a woman. These are 2 radically different ways the same divine reality can express itself. So, you might be asking, okay, why does this whole king versus sadhu thing matter so much? Well, it's because this isn't just some cool philosophical idea. This is the key that unlocks the practical, step-by-step instructions for how you can attain liberation. This is where we get to the how-to. The path forward is laid out like a really clear flowchart. Let's break it down. Step 1. If the divine is physically here on earth, doesn't matter if it's in king or sadhu form, your path is simple. You recognize that form and you seek refuge in it. That's it. Step 2. Okay, what if God isn't physically present? Then you find a living, realized spiritual master, a sant, someone who perfectly embodies those divine virtues. And step 3, if even a sant isn't around, liberation can be found through firm, faithful devotion to a sacred image, a murti. So here it is. This is the big takeaway. It doesn't matter if the divine appears as a powerful king or a humble ascetic. The path to liberation isn't about judging the packaging, you know? It's about recognizing the divinity inside that form and then developing this unshakable faith. The method might change based on who's around, but that core principle, faithful devotion, that's always the same. Which, of course, leaves us with a pretty powerful question for our own lives, doesn't it? If the divine can show up in such wildly different ways, as a ruler or a renunciant, as total power or as total peace, how do we train ourselves to see it today? In our own complex, messy, contradictory world. It's a 200-year-old question that honestly feels more relevant now than ever. What do you think?